This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi everyone, I'm Meteo Mundo Chief Meteorologist Rusty McCraney. I hope you're having a great start to the week. Thanks for tuning in and liking the video. Again, it is going to be an active week ahead for us here. A couple of areas of interest I'll be monitoring for you all week long. Going to start you off with the broad perspective of what's happening across the tropical Atlantic. We still have Hurricane Nigel. It's a Category 1 hurricane, but it's actually forecast to briefly become a Category 3, yet another major hurricane in this 2023 Atlantic hurricane season. But there's good news with Nigel. It's going to stay well away from any land, well away from Bermuda. As it gets into the northern Atlantic, it's going to lose some strength. And again, stay away from any landmass as it dissipates the farther north that it heads. Now, we still have two areas to also be watching very closely over the week ahead. We have this area here off of the coast of Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas and the northern Bahamas that could develop into a subtropical storm late this week and into this weekend. I'm going to talk more about that coming up, but I also want to start off with this area. Yet another tropical wave coming off the west coast of Africa with a high chance of development late into the week and into the weekend, a 70% chance. And notice on this track, it's basically due west. This is going to be a low latitude track of the system, which means our friends in the Windward and the Leeward Islands are going to have to keep a pretty close eye on this one for the week ahead, and that's exactly what I'm going to do for you here. Just zooming in a little bit closer, again, you can see, at least initially through this time period, the Hurricane Center doesn't have that turn northwest as of yet, so we'll be watching this for places like Trinidad and Tobago and Martinique, up towards the British and the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic. So, again, very far out into time, if you will, but an opportunity that we get another system developing here early next week. This is the GFS model. I'm going to run it all the way through early next week. You can see the moisture beginning to develop. Now, the one thing you're going to notice is that even towards the end of this time frame right there, we don't really have anything wrapped up. So the GFS model is not really picking up on a very strong system at the end of 9 and 10 days. That's great news, but again, it's a pretty far south track, and there is still the opportunity as it gets closer to the Windward and Leeward Islands to wrap up a little bit more. Now, it's going to throw some moisture that way as well, and we'll get some rain developing a little bit later in the week. But again, if you live in the Windward, Leeward Islands, U.S. and British Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, this disturbance is one that I'll be watching for you all week long. So again, not a great track, but it's also a decent sign that we're not really seeing the GFS model wrap this thing up anything too significant over the next 7 to 10 days. Let's talk about that other system here, the one in yellow. And again, there's a 30% chance that by the end of the week and into the weekend, we get a subtropical system developing in this area, including the northern Bahamas, Walker's Key, Grand Bahama, then up towards the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Subtropical because it may not be a truly tropical system. What do I mean by that? Well, to have a tropical system, you have to have a warm chord low. We're going to get that because of where we are in the Western Atlantic and the time of the year, but the strongest winds and the most stout thunderstorms are more than likely going to be away from the center of circulation, which is forecast to be ill-defined, and that would not be a truly tropical system. You have to have those strongest winds and the most stout storms right near that center of circulation. So that's at least a decent thing. That doesn't mean, though, again, we're not going to get some tropical storm conditions developing. I want to show you, first of all, the future track radar. I'm going to actually back it back in time just a little bit for us here. We'll put that into motion. You'll start to see the rain developing here mid to late in the week, and then that system begin to lift north as we get towards the weekend and early next week. Again, nothing very defined as far as a center of circulation. I can actually pause it as it gets going here. I'm going to pause it right about there. And you can see very ill-defined. Probably the center right about here. Strongest storms, highest wind gusts on the north and the western side, pretty dry air and not a lot of rain on the southern and the eastern side. So we're going to get some storms, and it's going to be a pretty wet week in the Bahamas overall. But we're going to get more than likely the strongest winds up in the Carolinas, coastal Georgia, maybe the eastern sides of Florida. And again, not a truly tropical system, but we could have some very rough surf and sea conditions. We could have some tropical storm force wind gusts as well. As a matter of fact, what I want to do right now is I'm going to switch over to that wind gust product. I want to take away the reflectivity for us here. Get over to the wind gust product. I'm going to put that into motion, and what you're going to see is, again, an ill-defined center, more than likely a mid-level center of circulation to this, but you can see the really strong winds. If you look at our scale here, when you get into the red, you're over 40 miles an hour, so some tropical storm force wind gusts are likely as the system develops. I've paused it again. You can see an elongated, ill-defined center of circulation. You can see the strong winds on the north and on the western side, so from the Outer Banks towards Charleston and Savannah and the eastern sides of Florida and the northern sides of the Bahamas, Grand Bahama and Walker's Key. Again, we're going to really kick up the surf and sea conditions. We're more than likely going to have some tropical storm force winds as this moves on shore. And again, subtropical storms, they get names. So we could have the O and the P name storms out of the two that I just mentioned, Ophelia and then Philippe. That's right, Ophelia, the O-name storm, and then Philippe, the P-name storm. And again, the GFS model then moves this into North Carolina as we get into early in the next week. So again, over the next 5 to 7 days, the potential for some tropical development there. Now, I want to also mention that it's going to be a wet week in the Bahamas overall. This is the live radar on this early Monday afternoon, and we've got some good showers over Andros and Andros Town and over Bimini, scattered showers right now over Grand Bahama and Walker's Key, and that's just going to be the forecast here as we actually go through the remainder of the week. This is the model again for us here for the Bahamas. I'm going to put that into motion. It's going to go a little bit fast, but I'm going to pause it in a couple of spots and just kind of back this up and show you. Again, this is going to be Wednesday, and you can see how wet it's going to be for Nassau and Eleuthera on over towards Abaco and Grand Bahama. And those kinds of showers will continue on and off through the week. Again, we're going to kick up that potential subtropical system to our north, and it really won't be until the weekend until we dry out. So the Bahamas, they're going to stay wet. Now, the marine forecast is pretty good over the next couple of days. We actually have a west wind today at around 10 to 20 knots. The winds will actually swing all the way to the southeast for tomorrow. They'll weaken a little bit. Seas in the sheltered locations running around 2 to 3 feet. You would expect some higher sea conditions, of course, in the exposed waters of the Atlantic. Sunset this evening being at 7:15. For Nassau today, some scattered showers in the forecast. Certainly going to be some rain out there, and then a much higher chance for some rain in Nassau beginning tomorrow. Under partly sunny skies on this Monday, that'll get to 90 for the daytime high, but really steamy outside of the storms. Feels like temperature of 102. For Grand Bahama, it's a 40% chance for scattered showers for the remainder of our Monday. But look at Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Rain and storms, very likely. It's obviously going to kick up the sea conditions. Mariners, be very cautious. There'll be a lot of lightning with these storms, and a high chance for rain all the way through Friday. And again, partly influenced by the potential for that subtropical system to be developing on the northern side of the Bahamas for us here. But again, very heavy rainfall and just a good widespread shower thunderstorm activity is expected through the week ahead, and daytime highs because of that will actually only stay in the mid 80s. So several areas to keep you up to date with all week long. We'll do that right here. Please, again, if you like the content, it's helping you out, like and subscribe right here to Media Mundo.